Hey, what's up, guys? This is Carson, and welcome to episode 2 of the No Son of Mine Behind the Music series. This is going to be a somewhat spoiler territory for the game's story. If you guys have not played the game and you want to experience it, click off this video. I will work around that as much as possible. I probably won't necessarily spoil anything big, but there might be something. I don't know. Because today we are going to be talking about the emotional side of the score, because I feel like that's an important thing to first do before I really get into the horror behind it and everything. And so that's why this is episode 2, and that's why I'm already hitting you guys with a potential spoiler warning, because this is going to be over the music that plays during cutscenes, so it's going to be very story-driven kind of music, I guess, if that makes sense at all. But here we are, episode 2. I'm super excited to talk about this stuff with you guys, so let's get into it. So first of all, we're going to be talking about the song that plays over the first cutscene towards the end of the game. It's not the very first one. The very first one does not take this more emotional kind of styled music. The first one plays, I believe it is track 10 or 11. The song is called Lifeless. That's the song I'm going over now. And this song, basically the idea behind why I made the emotional music very stereotypical string-sounding music is, first of all, as I stated last episode, I had probably less than a month about to do this entire score. So that's one of the reasons why it is so orchestrally driven and very, again, stereotypical sounding happy string music, as I like to say. And so that's one of the reasons why, but also the cutscenes for the most part take place at the end of the game, or the cutscene takes place in context before the game even happened and everything. So, there's like a flashback scene, and that's what this plays over, is a flashback scene. So this music is before the entirety of the game really happens, because story-wise, again, it's a flashback. So it makes sense for this to be before everything else. And so that's why it's kind of got this very happy sound and everything to it at the very beginning. And then throughout this piece, as you guys have either played and heard or just listened to the soundtrack, it changes over time to not so happy stuff. And that's a little bit of, obviously, a nod to what's happening in the cutscene in the full game. And so that's kind of what's going on there. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why, for sure, this piece and the next piece, why it's that sound and it's not the kind of horror sound that's throughout the entire soundtrack, because this is very, very different from how everything else sounds, and there is a reason for that, and that is why. It's because it fits with the story, because this takes place beforehand and it changes. As you hear mid-track here, it changes into that sound, because that's when really the dark stuff starts happening, and then the events of the game follow, what happens in this cutscene, essentially. So basically for this song, there is just some strings that come in, and there's a main melody that comes in, and it's played with that kind of music box sound that I said before, the one that I kind of took and processed differently and everything. I won't get into the whole sound design aspect in this episode, but that will be in a later episode. But the idea behind this was, whenever this cutscene plays, you see the boy, and he is doing very kind of innocent things. He's playing in his room and everything like that, and there's, posters of superheroes and, everything like that on the wall. So I wanted the sound of this at the very beginning to sound kind of innocent, and that's kind of why, again, the music box helps, but also the fact that it's not a music box also helps, because if it was just another music box, it'd be boring. But that's kind of the sound idea for this beginning part, is very kind of youthful innocence, and it's very happy sounding, because in the cutscene he's very happy and everything. So that's kind of what's going on at the beginning. And as you can tell throughout that entire piece, it is a very happy, joyful, again, kind of youthful, innocent sounding piece. And this point on, this is when it transitions to the dark sound that you hear throughout the entire soundtrack, and everything with all the cool sound design stuff and everything that I did. But as far as the emotional bit of this track, that's as far as it goes because, again, in context of, the game and everything, this is underscoring that scene. And whenever you break this a little bit apart, you have the main strings here. And this is towards the very end of that little phrase right here. You have the main melody that comes in right here. And then underneath that, you have the string sound, the chord strings. And then underneath that, you have this other string progression. I'll mute the regular strings, but this other string progression that comes in, and it really helps push the emotional drive right at the end right here. And so whenever you listen to all three of these at the end right here, this is what it sounds like. And that is that first bit, the very first emotional theme that you hear in this game. And I'm going to skip over the rest of the song Lifeless because that goes into the dark sound design stuff that I'm going to cover in another episode. And so I skipped over to the final track in the entire soundtrack. This is the final track called A Grave Ending. This is the last song that plays in the whole score, the whole game. This is the last cutscene, and this is the only other song that has any emotional weight to it whenever it comes to the overall soundscape and everything. No other songs besides these two have this very kind of happy, joyful string melody stuff going on. So this is the last piece, and this one plays at the very end of the game. Without spoiling too much, you realize some stuff was wrong of you to do, and so it's kind of like righting your wrongs, I guess, in a way, at the very end of the game. And this plays over that. And it is not a whole lot of tracks, only 8. And some of them are 10 seconds long. So it's not a very big track. There's not a bajillion different things going on throughout this entire thing. However, I really enjoy how it starts and how it builds, and that's the thing that for me the song had to do the best, probably, was start and kind of build off of the beginning of the song and kind of go somewhere emotionally, and I think that is exactly what I did. And before I play it, there's actually a little bit of the original kind of melody going on with the NSOM theme. It's just the 2 top notes that you hear, dun, 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 dun. If you listen to other tracks, you will hear what I'm talking about. It's the right-hand part in the main theme, but I bring it back here, but obviously it does not sound super haunting or menacing like it is for everything else. And so you hear part of the No Son of Mine theme in this piece, but used obviously in a more joyful way. And so that's that little bit, and that's something that I thought was pretty important to show the variety of what the main theme can do, and bring that into something else that's not just scary horror music and everything. And so it's in here, and I'm going to skip to the end of the song just a little bit, because this little bit right here is pretty cool. This right here has a bunch of, this is mostly string sounds, there's some piano, and there is the kind of music box thing that I made and everything, and that's all in this song right here. And that ending originally was supposed to be pretty happy sounding. It was just supposed to go from blah, bad singing, I know, but that's kind of what it was supposed to be, is da da. That's originally the thought that I had for how this would end, because obviously, again, it ends the entire game. So I wanted it to be a really cool sounding final chord and everything to kind of finalize, the game's over. So you want to signify that with music, right? And so originally it was that, which would have worked just fine. It would have worked just fine because, that chord really works. But I had the idea of ending it in a way that was, it left something to be desired a little bit, music-wise, I guess. And so it does not end happy on that happy chord that it could end on. Instead, it ends on this. And it ends like that just because I think that works really well, just as well as the other thing. But this is just something that is really cool to do. And then I have here some different riser sounds that I made. You hear them in other tracks and everything. And again, this will play into the sound design portion of an episode in the future. Thank you all for watching this video. That is going to conclude episode 2, the emotional bits of the soundtrack and everything. And there's not a whole lot to the emotional side of things. Like I said, there's really only 2 tracks, but I think it was important to cover it and talk about it, about like why the sound I went for is the overall sound I went for, and what it's trying to do for the specific scenes that are going on while this music is playing. And so that was kind of my thought process and how I ended up doing this part of the soundtrack, the emotional stuff. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys are enjoying so far both these episodes. If you have any questions regarding the emotional stuff or regarding the main theme from last episode or anything like that, leave them in the comments. If it's something that I know I'll cover in one of the next 2 episodes, I won't respond to it right away because I'll cover it in the next episode. But if it's something regarding the emotional stuff, for example, again, feel free, leave a comment. I'm happy to respond because I know that I won't cover everything that everyone wants to know about these specific topics in these videos. Because I'm doing kind of just a general what I did and everything. So if there's anything more specific you guys want, again, leave a comment, and I want to know what you want to know, and I will try and answer to the best of my ability. So again, thank you guys for watching this episode, and I will see you guys next week for episode 3.